So a few days ago, I was describing a D&D game that I'm running to my wife, and after describing it, she exclaimed, "Your game is basically a soap opera." And she's kind of right. The thing is, I'm running another D&D game which she is in, and my party in that game is currently crashing a wedding that is her character's sister's wedding, and you bet that game's a soap opera too. I made myself question this, but it's true. This is Storytelling at the Table, episode 12. Your game is a soap opera, and that's okay. So, is it really a soap opera? Well, I did some Google Foo, and here's some descriptions for what a soap opera is. First, from Google, a television or radio drama series dealing typically with daily events in the lives of the same group of characters. And then from Wikipedia, a soap opera is a radio or televised serial dealing especially with domestic situations and frequently characterized by melodrama, ensemble cast, and sentimentality. Okay, so we're going to get over the fact that it's not television or radio. Let's not worry about that. It's a slightly different medium, but it's close enough. Let's look at the facts of what is true about a D&D game. It's the same group of characters. It's definitely an ensemble cast. They're living and traveling together, generally speaking. Melodrama. Okay, depends on your game, but definitely got some overacting going on. Probably true. And then sentimentality. Well, people want things, and there are emotional strings being tugged? Well, I hope so. Or at least, as the DM, I want to be pulling emotional strings. I want to be making my players feel things. Okay, let's go back to the overacting part. Oftentimes, you talk about soap opera, and you talk about people very much overacting. But let's talk about that in terms of D&D. As a DM, I generally want to drive home the truths of the world of the game that I'm running, and those truths include emotions. Oftentimes as a DM, it's easy to think that you're clearly showing something, and your players will have no clue. Overacting, overemphasizing, going a little bit over the top, that's one good way to make sure that your players are getting what's being said. And is that a bad thing in a D&D game? When you're sitting around the table talking? I don't think so. Okay, what about overacting as a player? I mean, if you're a group of seasoned actors, if you're the cast of Critical Role, maybe overacting isn't really what you want to be doing, but at the same time, maybe it is, because once again, you're sitting around a table talking, you're entertaining people, in my case, each other, in the case of an actual play like Critical Role, also a television audience, but you're doing it just by talking. There are no special effects, there are no extra added visuals. That overacting is part of what draws attention, part of what makes things fun for other people to watch. And frankly, I would always rather my players were overacting rather than not acting. It's much easier to overact and then tone down than to get yourself to start acting in the first place. If there's overacting, I would call that a win. Now, as far as sentimentality goes, most everyone has heard of the dreaded murder hobos, a party that rolls into town, and if the town guards gives them a hard time, they kill him. The innkeeper wants to charge him rent, they kill them. Like, that's a little bit over the top, but that's murder hobos. I would much rather have a party that's dealing with morals and sentimentality and making them feel attached to things. It's a lot easier to kill the random barkeep than it is to kill Jorvin Bellows, the friendly barkeep who's helped you out of a pinch here and there, but is also just a tad shady. This is just as true in the real world. People are trained to be less bothered by the killing of a random stranger than someone they know. War propaganda has been built upon this for years. So yes, make people know NPCs. Get them to be sentimental about it. Be melodramatic. It's going to make the game better. And it's going to make the players make more human decisions. Frankly, whenever you're getting your players to interact with moral decisions, that means that your players are engaging with the world, and that's a win. Okay, let's talk briefly about tugging on heartstrings. As a DM, I want to intentionally tug on my players' heartstrings. There's a limit. I don't want to hurt my players, but people feel things. People care about things. And I want my players to care about things in the game. I want them to have real emotional attachments to things that happen in the game that we're playing. It doesn't mean I want to kill a legion of puppies in front of them, but it does mean I want to see the things that they care about and pull on those things a little bit. The biggest twists and reveals in stories that work really well are built around things that the audience cares about. In this case, your audience is your players. If you want to have a real emotional impact, it has to be about something that you've built your players up about. And that's okay to do. It's okay to make melodrama. It's okay to tear things that your players care about down and make them fight for those things. If they care about the game, it's because they're engaging, and that's a good thing. Am I willing to go over the top? Am I willing to make my game a soap opera? To make my players care about it? You bet I am. Am I going to be more over the top because the medium of D&D relies on the spoken word? And frankly, today where most games are happening online, where it's even harder to communicate, you bet I'm going to be over the top. You bet I'm going to turn my game into a soap opera if that's going to make my players feel like they're part of this world. I would be really curious to hear what things have made you feel something in a D&D game. Tell me how you feel about your game being a soap opera or not being a soap opera. Do you wish it was? Do you wish it wasn't? If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, keep telling stories.